What up, Dokkanners? We have sort of a big issue that has unfolded on the Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta Daima's kit. So I'm going to go ahead and explain what's going on in here, but first I want to just set up with some context as to how this came to be. There has been some discussion on Twitter, so I wanted to go ahead and check that out first, and then we will discuss what's going on specifically. So somebody reached out to Proton asking about the characteristics of this part of the passive for Vegeta that involves the 3 attacks within a turn thing. As you all know, after 3 attacks have been performed, you get an additional super within the turn, but then you also set up for 50% crit on the following turn. So this person is asking about that, and so Proton explains the critical 50% happens when Vegeta appears in his next turn, and it's for his allies, including Vegeta himself. Yami, who is a French Dokkan streamer, content creator, and also he's like super hardcore Dokkan. I think he also like messes around with like data stuff. So Proton, he reaches out to Proton asking, I've seen some people say that this cannot proc back to back, meaning Vegeta can only use this active every other turn. Is this true? Because if it is, the passive is not correct. The passive clearly states, actually we'll see it right here. The passive clearly states, every time the character performs 3 or more attacks in battle, you launch an additional super up to once within the turn. All allies chance to crit plus 50% within the character's next attacking turn. So one effect is resolved in-house, like within the same turn. The other effect requires a secondary turn to follow up. So therein lies the issue. So Proton responds, it should be able to proc every turn. The conditions between both skills, which is the super attack and the critical one, are the same. The only difference is the executive timing. We'll talk about executive timing in a second. Additional super attack tries to proc every attack performed. Critical plus 50% tries to proc at the start of the turn. Yami then responds, that doesn't seem to be the case though. Someone on the subreddit has confirmed that Vegeta only gets the critical every other turn. As you can see on the image, Vegeta did 4 supers turn 1, then 4 supers turn 3, but on turn 3 he doesn't have the icon for crit. There's an issue. It's bugged. Vegeta Super Saiyan 3 Daima is bugged, or his passive is misleading. The passive states that every time he attacks 3 times on the next appearance, he gets crit. Except that's not the case. So that is the problem. Because he is not doing what he is supposed to, as advertised. Now, this is misleading. This is misinforming text in the passive itself. Because now, if we go data side and take a look at this, this is a little more complex, a little more abstract, but I just wanted to explain it this way because Proton just explained it to me. And I want to sound smart for a change. So these 2 lines in between the red lines, these are the lines that dictate the passive that we're talking about. The passive in question is this. So what we're looking at here is essentially this part of the passive. This top line depicts the critical check. The bottom line depicts the additional check. So let's start with the bottom line. The bottom line has an executive timing of 5. What executive timing means is on any given turn, when a bunch of abilities and calculations are activating, there's sort of an order of operations as far as how certain actions take place. So executive timing 5, in layman's terms, basically means this part of the passive will do a check at the end of an attack. So after every attack in Vegeta's arsenal, there will be a quick check by this part of the passive that will say, hey, okay, let me check right here. You've just attacked. Have you attacked 3 times? No? All right, carry on. Okay, on the second attack, once again, executive timing 5 will activate at the end of that attack. Did you do it this time? Have you done it 3 times? No? Okay. After the third attack, it'll check again. Executive timing 5. Hey, have you attacked 3 times? Bing, 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 bing. Yes, you have. Here you go. Here is another additional super. So that is able to resolve within the turn itself because the check happens repeatedly after every single attack. The critical part of the passive is designed differently and thus functions differently. The executive timing for this one is level 1, which means it happens at the start of the turn. So at the start of the turn, the game is going to ask Vegeta, have you attacked 3 times on the preceding turn? If the answer is yes, then you get the critical. So let's just say on the first appearance for this Vegeta, you do the check. Did you launch 3 attacks in the previous turn? No, because we're just starting the fight, so you don't get critical. Okay. After 3 attacks, this thing will proc and you'll get your guaranteed additional super. By the end of the turn, it is very clear we have launched 3 attacks. Okay, so now we come back onto the following appearance from the same Vegeta. Once again, executive timing 1 will activate first at the start of the turn and it will do a check. Hey, Vegeta, on your last turn, did you launch 3 or more attacks? The answer is yes. So this will activate and thus everyone on the rotation, including Vegeta, will get a 50% crit, which is good. You think it ends there, but it doesn't. Because unfortunately what happens is once this is resolved, that ends this part of the pass. This part of the line is gone. It's done. Meaning the 50% crit has now procced. However, it does not also then acknowledge all of these actions within the turn to set up for the next turn. Meaning when you come back again with this Vegeta and you do this check, hey, have you launched 3 attacks? Technically you have, but this won't recognize any of those attacks because on the preceding turn, this had already resolved and thus there was no observing any of those attacks or registering any of those attacks. TLDR, it's not functioning the way that it is written. Now, to suggest that the intended design was so that Vegeta would always have 50% crit, I don't know. Because ultimately, if it were to proc every single turn, all you would need is essentially the first turn. And then, well, no, yeah. I mean, you're basically going to be getting guaranteed 50% crit every single turn. So I don't know if that was ultimately their intention, to basically give Vegeta a free 50% crit through this, 50% chance for a crit. When you think about the hidden potential, that is pretty busted, right? You are giving a unit 25% crit just from this. Now, obviously, other characters have some pretty broken abilities, but the question is, what was their intended design? Was the intended design to have this happen every single turn as long as you meet this requirement, which is pretty easy? Or was it in fact supposed to be every other turn? And I actually don't remember if Proton told me this. Does the crit even apply? I think it doesn't apply to anybody. If it doesn't apply to Vegeta, based on what Yami was saying or showing in the subreddit, then that probably means that nobody is getting the 50% crit. So it's essentially happening every other turn. So that is why this is sort of a sticky situation, because you could argue you summoned for Vegeta on that abysmal banner because you wanted to have a character who had team guard, team defense, all of these other things, including the fact that he is going to be very easy to build because he's already got a 50% crit, right? You know how sometimes when I'm, explaining a character and I'll say, hey, this unit has crit already, so we go for additionals and dodge, right? You could argue because this is a thing and it's very easy to launch 3 or more attacks, you could have built your character full additional and then the rest dodge because of this. But this is in fact not going to be the case. This is a misleading statement. So that is why this is a potentially sticky situation, because if this is in fact wrong and they reword it, then that could open up a can of worms, because it could also lead to some ire from consumers because, hey, I summoned on this banner for this anniversary character because this unit functioned the way that it was written. Because the way that it's written, we should be getting crit every single turn, except for turn 1. Like literally, you're always going to do this. This is not very hard to do. And you know what's ironic? I had recorded my Max Link showcase for the Vegeta and I was getting very annoyed at the lack of crit. I've given my unit max crit, so that on top of this, I was getting pretty frustrated in my video at the fact that I just was not getting crit. And this actually explains a lot, because that means that every other turn I was rocking just a simple hidden potential crit chance versus a 50% passive, and then on top of that an additional 46% chance from my hidden potential. That's annoying, and that also kind of angers me a little bit. So what are they going to do to fix this? I don't know. What are they going to do to compensate players for this? I don't know. And you know what's funny? I was talking to Proton about this, and he told me that we had a similar issue back in the day with Harudegarn. Harudegarn had a similar sort of condition where after 3 attacks were dodged in the preceding turn, you would get a guaranteed dodge on the next attacking turn. Now, if you think about the same logic, this logical sequence that we were talking about, just imagine if this was supposed to function as Vegeta, where the first turn it doesn't happen, but after that you could essentially just keep on repeating it. That means that Harudegarn would get guaranteed dodge forever except for the first turn, where he has to get 3 dodges. So naturally here, this is pretty ridiculous, right? So there comes with a regulation. Every time the character dodges 3 or more times in battle, okay, the following turn he gets guaranteed dodge. After that turn, when you come back, it's reset and you have to hit the 3 dodge again. Meaning every other turn you would essentially be getting, or actually, yeah, every other appearance, the Harudegarn would be getting a guaranteed dodge. That's more fair than giving somebody guaranteed dodge every single turn just by getting a single turn 3 dodge thing. That would not be fair. That's pretty broken. So this looks like a similar issue like that. The only difference is they didn't quite program this differently, because this is supposed to function differently. This one doesn't need to, this one is not as abusive as this one. If every turn you have guaranteed dodge, every turn you'll dodge 3 or more times, which means the next turn you'll have guaranteed dodge, which means the next turn you'll have guaranteed dodge. But here it's only 50%. So I personally don't think it would be bad for them to just let us have 50% crit every turn as long as you launch this. But I don't know. I'm not a game developer. So that is the situation that is unfolding right now. I think I'm going to be dropping this video before the Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta Max Links video. So with this context, you guys can probably go in and see how it was happening for me. And you guys can see the frustration that I got from it. I didn't even realize this. I had no idea. So I have no idea what they're going to do to respond. I'm sure people are going to write in. I actually think Proton even tweeted something out. Yeah. Vegeta's crit for the team only works every other turn. Here's where you submit your feedback. App Store, Google Play, be polite. Yes. Above all else, be constructive. If you say you're trash, they will literally not, they will ignore you. If you say anything that is just offensive and non-productive, it just won't help. What we want is for this to be fixed, and what we want is for this to be properly resolved and compensated. So give your constructive feedback. Let them know what's going on here. We have the proof. We know what the deal is. Vegeta is misleading. Fix it, Dokkan. Fix it. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like down below. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on this whole Vegeta situation. Were you even aware that this was a possibility? Did you ever notice that the lack of crit was sort of happening every other turn if you're using the character? What sort of resolution do you think that would work for this? Because giving back everyone's stones might be a disaster. I don't know. Would that be the right thing to do? Potentially. What if they give back all of the stones on everyone who's summoned for the carnival banner? Would that be a little too much? It's possible. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't even know where to begin. So what do you think the best solution would be? How do you think they're going to be proceeding in terms of elaborating and articulating on the Vegeta passive? The Vegeta's passive needs to be reworked. It needs to be articulated better. This has to either do exactly as it's supposed to say here, or this needs to be changed in terms of its phrasing. So give me your ideas, your resolutions, whatever, in the comments down below. And also let me know how many summons you spent on it, how many stones. Also be sure to subscribe for more Dokkan content in the future and click the notification bell so that you'll let YouTube know you want to see more of my stuff. Thanks again, stay tuned, and remember to Dokkan responsibly.